Hey all, thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you guys are having the most excellent day today. So today we're going to be looking at another one of the Innisphere Lance packs, but unfortunately I can't unbox this one for you today because it actually came in my Wave 1 Kickstarter. So I've already unboxed it and painted it up and even played with it, so I can't really do an unboxing for you today, but I can give you guys a good review of the contents and tell you, the strengths and weaknesses of each mech. So without any further ado and waffling, I'm going to tell you about the Innisphere Command Lance. And as always, we're going to start with the smallest mech first, and in this lance it is the tiny little Stinger. There we go. So as you guys can see, I've painted this up in Davian colours, a nice red, white and blue. Yeah, it's a lovely little sculpt. You'll maybe screaming at me that I've painted it wrong, and yes, I do know that I've got the red and the white stripe backwards. I've managed to do that on all of my Davian mechs, except for my metal ones, interestingly. But yeah, this is the Stinger. It is a light mech coming in at 20 tons. It's got 6'9" movement for the most part, unless you play in the Royal version, in which case it's 7'11", 7. But yeah, for the most part it's 6'9", 6 movement. A couple of medium lasers of varying types. Some versions have got a flamer instead, but it's usually some sort of laser, maybe a couple of machine guns or a flamer. Very fast, very agile little mech. Gets around the battlefield, but not really going to do much damage. Unless, like I said, you're playing that Royal variant. But yeah, it's a nice agile little mech. Fun little thing to play. Not much armour, and not as much speed as some mechs, but that jump does mean it can get the modifiers pretty decently up there. And they have done a really lovely job actually sculpting this mech. It's got a bit of a Gundam feel to me, I think, which is pretty cool in itself. I do like the Gundam franchise, but yeah, check this out. That is a lovely little sculpt. But it's not going to be winning any battles for you, that's for sure, but it can get around, it can annoy your opponent, which is handy. Next up is a mech that I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with, and that is the Valkyrie. Let's get that in for you guys to have a look at. And the reason I say I have a love-hate relationship is I absolutely love this mech in small skirmishes, where having those LOM-10 packs, or in some cases I believe it has LOM-15 or possibly LOM-10 with Artemis, having that in there can be quite a handy little long-range boost, and obviously it's usually backed up by a medium laser or two. But once you get to larger battles, the Valkyrie, being only a 30-tonner, and not really that fast for its size, does have the problem that it gets wiped out pretty easily by anyone who takes a mean glance at it. So while it's really handy for small skirmish games where you're not going to have like mass firepower flying about the field, like whenever you play the clans, when you get into larger games like 8,000, 10,000 battle value, it does run into that situation. It's too slow to escape the heavy stuff and generally gets pummeled from long range, where it really is supposed to be in its specialty. But the sculpt is next level. I do love the effort they've gone into with this mech. It really does look nice. So yeah, that is the Valkyrie, a nice little 30-tonner with LOMs and usually 1 or 2 backup lasers. I think there is a version that comes with just a light PPC, but that's moving on into the later eras. And next up, moving up the weight class, is actually my favourite mech from this Lance pack, and that is the Archer. Now this is a mech that consistently performs for me. This mech will not let you down on the battlefield. The variant I usually play has got 2 LOM-20s with Artemis 4 and 4 medium lasers, 2 of which are pointing backwards. Now you may be screaming at me, pointing backwards is wasted battle value and tonnage, but let me tell you, this mech is not very fast, it's not very agile, it's only got 4-6 movements, so at some point something is going to get behind you, or get behind it. And when they get there, they think, oh, I got easy pickings. But then those 2 medium lasers blast them in the face, and, you know, they are facing fresh armour, even if it is the rear armour. I've had situations where something's got behind my Archer, and rather than turn the thing around to face a new threat, I've just kept it shooting at its main threat, and just employed those rear medium lasers to, you know, make it pretty painful for whatever's jumped back there. And those 2 LMM-20s, consistently, every turn, you're going to get damage on the enemies. Especially if you've got a decent gunnery skill in here. That Artemis really does make a big difference. I mean, you know, it adds 2 cluster rolls, which can take it from like just doing 12 damage to maybe doing 16 damage. So that's a whole extra hit location. So this thing, the last few games I've played with this thing, consistently it's managed to score critical every single turn it shoots. It's a real powerhouse. It really does pay for its points in damage on the enemy. And the sculpt is really epic as well. I really love the level of detail they've put into this mech. So yeah, that is the Archer. Excellent mech on the battlefield, well worth the points. And the final mech you get with this lance is the Marauder, the classic. And this mech is an all-round badass. It's 75 tons with 4/6 movement, and it's usually got some variant of PPCs or large lasers in the arms, backed up with either medium lasers or medium pulse lasers, and a variety of weapons come up top, Gauss rifles, LBXs, or just another large laser. So it is a very versatile. It is mostly energy based, but it does have that nice advantage of occasionally having a Gauss rifle and LBX. And later versions do come loaded down with missiles. I think there's one version that just has a whole bunch of single shot rocket launchers, which I thought was a bit silly in my opinion. It is a nice all-round mech. I'm not a massive fan of the Marauder, to be honest. I think the points are a bit heavy for what it does, and the armour is a little bit thin, but it is a nice heavy mech to have in there, and I know the other half is not a fan of it running around the battlefield unscathed. So yeah, that is the final mech that comes with it. And if you're wondering what the old version looked like, so I do have an older Marauder. This is what I think they called reseen variants look like. I've had this one for a fair few years now, and it's not the greatest looking, but to be honest, I actually prefer the look of this metal one to the new plastic one and the old version, just because it's so gangly and weird. And really, really hard to put together. Let me tell you, this thing has fallen apart twice on me, even though it's pinned. It is an absolute ball ache to put together, but I don't know, I think I just prefer the look of this one. And I know I'm going to get lynched by a lot of hardcore Battletech fans that, I should love the original, but this one is just, it's weird, it's gangly, it's ugly, and I love it. So my opinion on the Lance Pack in general, I do like the light mechs, especially that Stinger. It's a nice little addition, especially if you're playing the Royal variant. I mean, it's not very fluffy to play the Royal variant, but it is kind of fun. And while I do appreciate the Marauder, and I do think it is a decent mech for what it does, and if played right, it does work really well, I definitely think without a shadow of a doubt, the star of this Lance Pack is the Archer. The Archer is a mech that it always makes it into my list because it is just a reliable, solid performer. It puts out damage every turn, and those LRM-20s with Artemis is like, you're usually rolling at least 3 to 4 hit locations, so that's 3 to 4 chances to get a headshot, or to get a critical center torso, or to get that one location that you've managed to tag with an AC-20 already, and it's got a great big hole in it. So yeah, the Archer is just, I think it is the star of this Lance. I know people love the Marauder, and it is a decent mech, but the Archer for me is where it's at. So thank you again for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, drop a like, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. Other than that, I hope you have a most excellent day, and you'll take care of yourselves, okay? Take care, ta-ra.